Autumn, 1943. A young American soldier stands in front of a small mirror inside a military barracks. Before joining the army, brushing his teeth was something he did occasionally, when he remembered. Now he does it every single day without fail. Years later, he'll teach the same habit to his children. Millions of others will do exactly the same. Most people believe the toothbrush became part of daily life because science convinced everyone it was important. That's not what happened. The truth is far stranger. For thousands of years, humanity lived without anything resembling the toothbrush sitting next to your sink today. Ancient kings, merchants, warriors, and philosophers all struggled with the same problem: how to keep their teeth clean. The solution evolved across continents, passed through empires, survived wars, and eventually changed the behavior of billions of people. Along the way, it involved Chinese emperors, medieval physicians, a British prisoner armed with nothing but a dinner bone, a dentist who discovered a mystery hidden in drinking water, and a military order that transformed a recommendation into a lifelong ritual. This is the story of one of the most common objects on Earth, and the surprising history behind the toothbrush. To find the beginning, we need to travel back nearly 5,000 years. Long before toothpaste commercials, dentists, or bathroom cabinets existed, people were already trying to solve the problem of oral hygiene. Archaeologists have discovered evidence that ancient civilizations used simple chewing sticks as early as 3500 BCE. These tools were little more than thin branches cut from specific plants. One end would be chewed until it separated into soft fibers, creating a primitive brush. Simple as they were, they worked remarkably well. What's fascinating is that similar tools appeared independently in multiple civilizations. Ancient Egypt had them. Ancient India had them. Mesopotamia had them. Later, versions appeared across Greece and other parts of the Mediterranean. This wasn't cultural borrowing. It was human beings reaching the same conclusion. Clean teeth mattered. In Egypt, some of these chewing sticks were buried alongside valuable possessions. Archaeologists found them inside tombs, next to jewelry and luxury goods intended for the afterlife. To the Egyptians, maintaining one's mouth was important enough to continue beyond death itself. The Greeks approached the problem differently. Physicians began writing about dental care in surprisingly detailed ways. Medical texts recommended mixtures containing grains, minerals, vinegar, and other ingredients intended to clean the mouth and reduce discomfort. Their understanding of disease was limited. They knew nothing about bacteria. Yet they recognized a connection between oral health and overall well-being. Centuries later, another important development emerged across the Islamic world. A cleaning stick known as the miswak became widely used throughout the Middle East and beyond. Derived from the Salvadora persica tree, it gained significance not only as a cultural tradition, but also because of its practical effectiveness. Modern research has shown that the plant contains natural antibacterial compounds, minerals, and substances that help protect teeth. More than 1,000 years after its introduction, hundreds of millions of people still use it today. While much of Europe lagged behind in dental hygiene, other parts of the world were already moving towards something surprisingly modern. And nowhere was that progress more visible than in China. While many societies still relied on chewing sticks and claws, China was moving towards something much closer to the modern toothbrush. By the 7th century, craftsmen had begun attaching stiff animal bristles to handles made from bamboo or bone. Unlike chewing sticks, these tools were designed specifically for brushing. The most prized versions used bristles taken from wild hogs living in the colder northern regions of Asia. Harsh winters produced tougher, denser hair that could withstand daily use. For the first time, a brush looked recognizable to modern eyes. A handle, a cluster of bristles, one purpose: clean teeth. As trade routes expanded, knowledge of these brushes slowly traveled westward. Merchants carried ideas as well as goods, and over the following centuries, Europe gradually became aware of the technology. But awareness and adoption are two different things. European dental hygiene remains surprisingly primitive. Most people clean their teeth with rough cloths, abrasive powders, or homemade mixtures that often did more harm than good. Tooth pain was so common that many viewed it as an unavoidable part of life. Instead of visiting a dentist, people often turned to folk remedies, religious rituals, or simple endurance. A severe toothache could ruin someone's entire life. Then, in the late 18th century, an unlikely inventor entered the story. His workshop wasn't a laboratory, it wasn't a factory, it was a prison cell. Around 1770, a businessman named William Addis found himself imprisoned in London. Historical records disagree about the exact circumstances, but most historians believe he became involved in public unrest and was arrested during a riot. Whatever the reason, Addis suddenly had plenty of time to think. One evening after finishing a meal, he noticed the bone left behind from his dinner. Instead of discarding it, he kept it. Over the following days, he cleaned the bone, carved small holes into one end, and inserted bundles of stiff bristles secured with wire and glue. The result was unlike anything commonly available in Britain. It wasn't a chewing stick. It wasn't a rag. It was a purpose-built toothbrush. Simple, practical, effective. Most importantly, it was easy to manufacture. When Addis was eventually released, he recognized the commercial potential of his invention. He began producing brushes on a larger scale and selling them throughout Britain. The business grew rapidly. By the time of his death, the company had become a major success, supplying toothbrushes to customers across the country. Yet despite helping create the modern toothbrush industry, Addis remains largely forgotten today. Millions of people use versions of his invention every morning without knowing his name. For more than a century afterward, toothbrushes slowly became more common. They were available, they were affordable, but they were far from universal. Many families still brushed irregularly or ignored dental hygiene altogether. The toothbrush existed. The habit did not. That would not begin to change until scientists stumbled across a completely different discovery, and it happened by accident. In the early 20th century, a dentist working in Colorado noticed something unusual among local residents. Many of his patients had teeth marked by strange stains and discoloration. At first glance, the condition appeared unhealthy, yet these same patients shared another remarkable characteristic. They had very few cavities. The observation puzzled researchers. How could teeth that looked damaged be more resistant to decay? For years, scientists searched for an explanation. Eventually, they traced the answer to something hidden in the local water supply. Tiny amounts of a naturally occurring mineral, fluoride. What they discovered would completely transform modern dentistry and ignite one of the most controversial public health debates of the 20th century. And the toothbrush was about to become far more important than ever before. The discovery of fluoride should have been one of the easiest victories in medical history. The evidence was difficult to ignore. Communities with naturally occurring fluoride in their water consistently showed lower rates of tooth decay. Children experienced fewer cavities. Adults kept their teeth longer. The benefits appeared again and again wherever researchers looked. By the 1940s, public health officials decided to test the idea on a larger scale. One American city became the world's first major experiment. Officials began adding carefully controlled amounts of fluoride to the local water supply and monitored the results over several years. The outcome exceeded expectations. Childhood tooth decay dropped dramatically. Researchers were astonished. A relatively inexpensive mineral was preventing one of humanity's most common health problems. Today, that sounds obvious. At the time, it was anything but. The proposal triggered fierce opposition. Some critics questioned the science. Others worried about government involvement in public health. As the Cold War intensified, the debate became tangled with politics, conspiracy theories, and public distrust. What should have been a straightforward medical discussion became a national argument. For years, supporters and opponents battled over the evidence. Yet study after study produced the same conclusion. Fluoride worked. Eventually, the science became too overwhelming to ignore. At the same time, another development was transforming oral health. A consumer products company saw an opportunity. Rather than fighting the new research, it embraced it. Scientists began developing toothpaste specifically designed to deliver fluoride directly to the teeth. Clinical trials demonstrated measurable improvements, and public awareness campaigns encouraged families to brush more consistently. For the first time, brushing wasn't just about cleaning food from the mouth. It became a scientifically supported method of preventing disease. The toothbrush and toothpaste were no longer separate tools. They had become partners. By the 1960s, dental professionals were optimistic. Tooth decay rates were falling. Public awareness was increasing. New products were reaching store shelves every year. It seemed like the toothbrush had finally reached its final form. Then a Swiss doctor changed everything. In the 1950s, Philippe Guy Woog was working with patients who faced a very different challenge. Many of them physically couldn't brush their own teeth. Some suffered from neurological disorders. Others had limited mobility following injuries or illness. Many struggled with the repetitive hand movements required for effective brushing. Traditional toothbrushes simply weren't enough. Woog believed there had to be a better solution. His answer was revolutionary. Instead of requiring the user to perform every movement manually, the brush itself would do much of the work. The world's first practical electric toothbrush was born. Contrary to what many people assume today, it wasn't designed as a luxury gadget. It was medical equipment. Its purpose wasn't convenience. It was accessibility. The earliest users included people recovering from serious illnesses and those living with physical disabilities. Only later did the technology enter the consumer market. As electric brushes became more affordable, their popularity steadily increased. Families who had never considered using anything beyond a traditional toothbrush became curious about the new invention. Manufacturers improved motors, batteries became smaller, designs became more comfortable. The toothbrush was evolving once again. Yet an even bigger transformation was waiting just around the corner, one inspired not by dentistry at all, but by industrial engineering. A technology originally developed for completely different purposes would soon find its way into bathrooms around the world, and it would allow toothbrushes to move faster than anyone had previously imagined. By the 1990s, the toothbrush seemed like a solved problem. It had a comfortable handle, synthetic bristles, fluoride toothpaste, and even electric versions. Most people assumed there wasn't much left to improve. They were wrong. A young engineer named David Giuliani believed brushing could be made dramatically more effective. Working with researchers in Washington State, he helped develop a device that moved far faster than any electric toothbrush before it. Instead of a few hundred brush strokes per minute, the new technology generated tens of thousands. The result became known as the sonic toothbrush. Its rapid vibrations allowed it to clean areas that traditional brushes often missed, pushing fluid and toothpaste into tiny spaces between teeth and along the gum line. But here's the strange part. The technology behind it wasn't originally designed for dental care. Some of the engineering principles came from industrial cleaning systems used to move and remove materials through pipes and machinery. Techniques developed for engineering problems were suddenly being applied inside the human mouth. It was another reminder that innovation rarely follows a straight line. Meanwhile, companies that had once started as small workshops grew into global corporations. Brands that began with a single inventor's idea became billion-dollar businesses. Toothbrushes evolved into smart devices equipped with timers, pressure sensors, and even smartphone connectivity. A tool that once consisted of a twig had become a piece of consumer technology. Yet one of the biggest revolutions had happened decades earlier. For hundreds of years, toothbrushes relied on animal bristles, particularly the coarse hairs of wild hogs from northern Asia. Those bristles were durable, but they absorbed moisture, collected bacteria, and wore out quickly. Then chemistry changed everything. In 1938, a new toothbrush appeared on the market using synthetic nylon bristles instead of animal hair. The invention transformed the industry overnight. Nylon was cleaner, more durable, more consistent, easier to manufacture. The age of animal bristle toothbrushes was ending. The scientist behind this breakthrough was a brilliant chemist named Wallace Carruthers. His research helped create nylon, a material that would later be used in everything from parachutes to clothing and industrial equipment. But there is a tragic twist to the story. Carruthers never saw the full impact of his invention. After years of struggling with severe depression, he died before nylon reached its enormous commercial success. Millions of people would eventually use products made possible by his work. He never lived to witness it. Even with better materials and better science, however, one challenge remained: getting people to brush their teeth. Knowledge alone wasn't enough. Dentists had been recommending good oral hygiene for years. Toothbrushes were widely available. Fluoride had proven its effectiveness, yet many people still ignored the advice. What finally changed behavior wasn't a scientific paper, it was a war. During the Second World War, the United States military introduced strict hygiene routines for millions of service members. Daily toothbrushing became part of military life. It wasn't optional. It wasn't a suggestion. It was expected. Every day, without exception. For years, millions of young men repeated the same habit over and over again until it became automatic. Then the war ended. The soldiers returned home, and they kept brushing. Soon their children copied them. Those children taught the next generation. A habit became a tradition. A tradition became normal life. Today, brushing your teeth feels completely natural. Most people never question it, but for nearly all of human history, this routine did not exist. The toothbrush traveled an extraordinary path to reach your bathroom, from ancient chewing sticks in the earliest civilizations, to Chinese craftsmen attaching bristles to bone handles, to a prisoner shaping a brush from a leftover dinner bone, to scientists uncovering the benefits of fluoride, to chemists creating nylon, to wartime routines that transform public behavior forever. Every morning and every evening, billions of people repeat a ritual built by thousands of years of experimentation, discovery, and chance. The toothbrush may seem ordinary, but hidden inside that ordinary object is one of the most fascinating stories in human history. And every time you pick it up, you're holding the result of a journey that began nearly 5,000 years ago.